This video is brought to you by brighttutoring.ca. Don't let school get in the way of your education. Book a tutoring session today at brighttutoring.ca. The Fellowship of Guelphissauga continues, with the anti-hate protests bringing the heat to the housing cost crisis. But that wasn't the only thing on fire this week, as Turtle Jacks and the Homeless Encampment off Watson Road competed against the Albion for being the biggest dumpster fire in town. Meanwhile, the mayor celebrated his birthday in style, and he wished for more tiny houses in his European Inspired SimCity. Can Carly of Klassen and the Elder Elves do anything about the housing cost crisis, and did the protests achieve their goal? The Shire's firefighters were working hard this week tackling two suspicious fires. For the past year, the Albion was known as being the biggest dumpster fire in town, but these two fires stepped up to compete. The first fire occurred at one of the growing tent encampments in the woods. 22 firefighters were dispatched to contain the blaze as it spread across the forest near York and Watson Road. Luckily, none of the minimum wage earners living in the tents were hurt. The second fire happened at another business in the Shire competing against the Albion for being the biggest dumpster fire in town. Known for their bland pasta and raw burgers, Turtle Jack's was set ablaze with smoke billowing from its rooftop. Firefighters arrived and extinguished the blaze within 20 minutes, according to their chief, Stephen of Good. Luckily, Turtle Jack's had no customers at the time, and the skeleton crew of 2 employees were not harmed. The fire department is investigating the fires, but couldn't say whether they were connected to other things. Meanwhile, the Shire's police were busy too with the growing crowds downtown. Initially, there was only one group of a dozen people or so, but then it transformed into hundreds across 2 separate groups. Each group was there to protest or counter-protest something. The police tried to separate people into their groups to keep the peace, but it was a big task. The first group was downtown for the million-person 2.0 protest for protecting the children. They were concerned about sex education, a lack of parental input in the school system, and the belief that Canada's educators are indoctrinating kids. The police could easily identify people in this group as they marched down Gordon Street, mask-free, screaming, "Leave our kids alone." The second group there was to counter-protest the first. Led by Erin of Caton, she gathered her friends to rally against the hate for sexualizing and indoctrinating children. Requiring masks to be worn, the police could easily identify people in this group as they waved their protest signs and yelled with their masks on. While breaking a sweat dealing with the Karens in the crowds, the police wished they were assigned to an easier job in the south end of the Shire that day. At the south end of the Shire, a few lucky policemen were standing around instead of breaking a sweat downtown. They were lucky enough to be assigned security detail for the grand opening of the South End Community Centre. Costing $115 million, the new community centre will help serve the homeless students living in their cars as a place to shower and mooch Wi-Fi. The police officers cashed in on the overtime's hour as they babysat adults, just like at homecoming. They were also some of the 59 officers whose overtime pay was part of the $97,000 bill for homecoming. Back at the Council of Elders chambers, Carly of Klassen and the Elder Elves dealt with the housing cost crisis. Their weekly meeting was delayed thanks to the mayor flexing his strong mayor powers on his birthday. He ordered the Sunshine Listers to form a birthday cake committee to order a cake and find a choir to sing him happy birthday. They cheaped out instead and quickly bought a cake at Costco and found some local kids to serenade the mayor. The Council of Elders watched the mayor blow out his birthday candles as the children sang happy birthday. Sadly, Erin of Caton didn't get any cake, since she couldn't eat anything while wearing a mask. The mayor made a wish as he blew out his candles. He wished that he could go full-out YIMBY mode on his European Inspired SimCity without worrying about the corporation of the Shire's budget. While the Shire burned outside, the mayor prayed that his quantity-based solution to our pricing problem would work in a market failure. With the Lord of the Liberals importing new immigrant voters in the millions, and the Big Blue Orc encouraging the monopolization of the housing market, the mayor can't figure out how to use his fiscal policy tools to directly address the pricing issue. The Council of Elders sat through the lengthy meeting as the mayor pushed his quantity-based solution to the housing cost crisis. They unanimously approved a 17-point plan aimed at addressing housing affordability and homelessness issues in the Shire, including calling on upper-tier governments for a new deal for municipal funding in order to pay for it. If the Big Blue Orc breaks his promise to make them whole, then the corporation of the Shire would be out $227 million over 10 years. The number of tent encampments has also doubled in the past year in the Shire, even with the recent fire this week. I get a ton of emails from residents who are very concerned about encampments and people living in them, said Carly of Klassen. The Council of Elders unanimously called for ideas to be discussed during the upcoming housing symposium. They want to look into creating a bylaw that would allow for up to 4 units on residential properties if sewage and water capacity already exists. The mayor was also inspired by the nearby homeless encampments in Kitchener and was pushing the idea of tiny homes. He compared the cost of the ongoing temporary supportive housing project at 65 Delhi Street, which is estimated at $7.5 to $8 million for 28 units, to the projected $1 million cost for 50 tiny homes. He suggested that either a private landowner might offer a suitable location, or the encampment could be situated on the corporation of the Shire's land. With the recent fire at the tent encampments, the mayor figured that tiny homes would be a convenient solution to the lost housing. Can Carly of Klassen and the Elder Elves do anything about the housing cost crisis? And did the protests achieve their goal? Stay tuned here to see.